next speaker for today is Dr. Vidya Vadke. She's a consultant at Shankar Nethralaya, Kolkata. She did her DIPMB from Mysore, and she underwent her glaucoma fellowship from Shankar Nethralaya, Chennai, and was awarded the Best Outgoing Anterior Segment Fellow. She has publications in national and international journals and has participated in various postgraduate training programs. Over to Dr. Vidya, please.
Thank you, ma'am, for the kind introduction. I welcome everyone on behalf of Shankar Nethralaya to the City of Joy. So today, the topic that we are going to discuss is structure-function correlation for glaucoma diagnosis. All roads lead to Rome. I do not have any financial interest. So this is a usual picture that we see in our glaucoma OPDs. We have a middle-aged person coming with blurring of some eye, no family history, no significant history. IOPs are on the higher sides, gonioscopy, open angles, borderline. Discs show typical glaucomatous damages. The right eye showing inferior rim thinning, the left eye showing bipolar thinning with excavation. The structural reports also correspond similarly on any structural investigation, here in this case OCT RNFL, and the visual fields correspond to inferior rim thinning showing a superior arcuate in the right eye and bipolar thinning showing a biarcuate scotoma in the left eye. But sometimes we do have unusual cases wherein we have patients who have glaucoma who present with clinical signs. In this case, a 40-year-old male who is already on 4 IOP lowering agents, who has a negative history for family history of glaucoma or any other cause, any history of any nerve damage, shows a typical excavated disc, though larger in size, with bipolar thinning, slit RNFL defects, wherein structurally also it correlates. In this case, again on OCT RNFL showing bipolar thinning, wherein we expect the fields to show a very advanced damage, but when we do this, we have a generalized depression with very early arcuate scotomas, which we cannot directly correlate with the structure that we see clinically or on investigations. So this, when it happens, here we need to go back to our basics and decide why this has happened. So by definition, glaucoma is a multifactorial optic neuropathy characterized by progressive neurodegeneration of the retinal ganglion cells and a specific damage to the optic nerve with corresponding visual fields. So the implication being we are studying consequences of structural damage of the optic nerve on the visual function of the eye. The question arises, do these changes always corroborate? The answer would be no. There is discordance in the timing of detecting the longitudinal changes in the optic nerve disc and the visual field. The very existence of the entity called preperimetric glaucoma is an evidence to this, because preperimetric meaning the disease has been detected on a structural investigation, but it is yet to appear on a functional investigation, as in this patient. Why does this happen? So today let's go into depth about this. First of all, we should be clear that we are studying surrogates. When we say structure function, ideally we should be studying the structure of the RGC as a cellular level, intracellular imaging. And when we say function, we should be studying the electrophysiology of the individual cells. But what we study is something else, because in vivo these tests would not be possible. So when we study structure surrogates like rim area, cup volume, retinal nerve fiber layer thickness, and other things. And when we study function, instead of the electrophysiology, we are studying mean sensitivity, mean deviation, and individual point sensitivity on perimetric and psychophysical tests. Also, when we study these surrogates, we have our scaling differences. Not that both are studied in linear units. Structure is studied in linear units. Functional data, which is in perimetry, visual field sensitivity, is recorded in logarithmic units. So when using logarithmic units, we have to keep in mind that they are non-linear. Decibels are non-linear measure where a change of 3 decibel represents a doubling or halving of the light intensity. This nature, the logarithmic unit, gives rise to a concept called functional reserve, wherein in the early POAG, we feel that the structural loss appears greater than the functional loss. In more advanced diseases, it appears as if the function changes more than the structure, but this is actually because of the curvilinear relationship of the structure and function because of the change in scales. Also, another reason why we have discordance in visual and in structure and function is the eccentricity of retinal location. So to produce a similar functional change, a greater number of retinal ganglion cells must be lost in central retinal area as compared to the peripheral areas. So in the central 15 degrees, the relationship is likely to remain non-linear because of the spatial summation effects. The axons of the retinal ganglion cells, they summate. But outside the central 15 degree, a linear relationship is maintained. So this change of the location of eccentricity adds to the discordance. Also, as every human being is unique, every optic nerve inserts in a unique way. So there is anatomical variability, which is a major source of imprecision. Selection bias, when we decide to study structure function, what we are going to select is we are going to select patients with glaucoma whom we understand that have a structural damage or functional damage. Sometimes in studies, even patients with ocular hypertension and all are included. But before we even understand the concept, there are some cases which are not selected in the study because they do not fit in the criteria. So there is selection bias, and which will bias the outcome of comparisons. There definitely exists anchoring bias in the field of glaucoma because we have a lot of data, but there is still a lot of things unknown. So studies which also elect to include normal subjects and ocular hypertension also add to the anchoring bias. Statistical methods, again, whichever method we are using has its advantages, disadvantages, and that can add to the structure function correlation and non-correlation. As with any investigation, any test, there is test-retest variability. Both visual field and structural measurements are subject to variability. The sources being poor image quality, lens opacity, cylindrical error, poor visual acuity, low analysis confidence, and others. Now this variability also gives rise to some diseases like Rett disease, wherein there are false positives. That is, a normal is labeled as abnormal, like in this case where a myopic eye was labeled as glaucomatous because of the normative database applied to the extremely refractive error eye. And there is something called as green disease, where normal is labeled as abnormal, where abnormal is labeled as normal. So in this case, a patient of known glaucoma having an inferior rim notch, when presented with CRVO, had retinal edema, and because of which the GOCT showed a green image showing normal thickness in all, which is actually false. Again, sampling pattern of the points to be studied affect the structure function correlation. 50% of the retinal ganglion cells are found in the central 20 degree of retina, but only 12 points, that is 22% of the points, lie in this region. There are many other variables depending on what kind of RGCs are affected, what kind of RGCs we are studying, and what stage of the study is, stage of the disease is being tested, and the heterogeneity of selectivity and damage among glaucoma patients. When we decide to study structure function, the first map that comes to our mind is the Garve-Heath map, who have tried to correlate the different sectors of the optic nerve to the corresponding points on the visual field. The question remains, which comes first? So it is equivocal as to whether the earliest signs of damage are anatomical or functional, and this will be limited to the detection capacity of the investigations that we use, and it will keep changing depending on the different investigations that keep coming up in the near future. The limitation of automated perimetry in the early diagnosis of POAG has definitely a clinical significance, because both results of OSTS and EMGT indicated that early diagnosis has a good prognosis. But in case of SAP, it is not the case. At least 25 to 35% RGC loss is needed before we can detect functional loss in the standard perimetry. Now, having said all that, it might sound disappointing that the structure-function correlation does not happen in each case, but nothing to get disheartened. We can use this disagreement at our benefit. It is not to be confused with a poor predictive value. Predictive ability is there, just agreement is not there. So how can we use this to our advantage? We can use it to improve the chances of detecting progressive changes over time, and we can integrate both structural and functional results for a better outcome. So we have a beautiful staging system given by Brusini et al., which integrates the structural and functional correlation so that we can stage the disease better and treat it better. Also, a combined structure function index has been proposed, which helps us to differentiate the different stages of glaucoma, which uses the number of RGCs damaged and the number of RGCs expected to be damaged, and gives us an integrated index, which has a better prognostic value. Also, Zeiss Forum, no financial interest, has this combined integrated assessment in its system where it integrates the functional and structural test in the same printout where we can assess both of them together and have a better picture of the disease. Application of Bayesian model, which Bayesian statistics based on the prior beliefs and which integrate the newer findings, also integrate both structure and function data concurrently and make our prediction more accurate of the damage we are expecting and for us to take steps well in time. Further steps which can be taken are detection of early ganglion cells by perimetry, which we can improve by linearization of the structure and function data, which we earlier discussed is not linear. We can linearize it, but then it needs clinical feasibility, which is yet to be done. Now, any talk would be incomplete without a mention of AI. So AI to the aid, when we are comparing structure function, there have been attempts made to develop AI-based structure function map relating to RNFL damage to functional loss. So here we have the top one, the actual field defect of the patient, having OCT RNFL thinning shown in the left side picture, and the AI has generated a similar field defect inferiorly. So in a nutshell, structure and function should be monitored closely in glaucomatous eyes and to decide the type of investigation and the frequency of investigation based on the progression based on these investigations. And we should correlate structure, function, but not just these two, clinical findings and patient's quality of life to make a clinical decision about investigation and the further interventions. Thank you so much.